was all already there. The people always feared us, simply because we were different. Because we are better than they. Your father, he knew something like that would happen eventually. So he stood up and tried to stop it before it was too late. At least that's what he said. And to be honest, I still don't know if he only lost that vision, or had never had it to begin with.
I can't believe you're saying this. The reason the people hate us mages now is because of what my father did. He confirmed their fears for them by starting this goddamn war.
Oh, really? And what about all that shit that happened beforehand? The witch burnings, mages driven out of the cities, gifted children abandoned by their mothers.
Did you just say because we were better?
Yes, better. How else should I say it? We cast fire from our hands, heal wounds with a mere thought, so how would you call it? I call it superior. And the ungifted know it as well as we do. But does that mean that we want to kill them? No. We're not animals, we're people, just like they are. Only that we are the lions and they are the cats. We didn't choose to be that way, but it's what nature chose for us.
I don't know. But to me, it sounds like you're still trying to justify what you did in that war.
That's where you're wrong. It's not all black and white, Tahar. And you of all people should know. I know I made mistakes. And I've spent the past 7 years making amends. What else do you think the Wayfarers are for? And look, I do not expect you to forgive me. I don't even know if I could do it if I were in your position.
I remember that back in the rebellion, ancient relics such as the Godstones were your speciality.
Interesting. That depends on what you mean by that. I mean, it goes without saying. Apart from that, I could only tell you the things you already know. How both the Hibernians and Shapers worshipped them and harnessed their magic. But that's about it.
So, regarding the Wayfarers, you said that you founded them to make amends. Is that true? And if yes, how—
Yes, otherwise I wouldn't have said it. As to how I formed them, it's a long story. And maybe one we should save for later.
I want to talk about my father.
I figured you'd want to eventually. What is it you want to know?
Do you think it's true? But he was simply crazy.
Towards the end, yes. He had certainly lost his sanity. But before that, I still don't know. I've said it before, but there's one part of me that likes to think. But if there's one thing I know, it's that he was a leader. Whenever he spoke to us, it was electric.
You sound almost
Nostalgic? No. It's just— I've never met someone with that energy. You have some of it, Tahar. I only started to realize that here.
This might sound strange, but do you see—
Interesting that you ask. Yes, there were moments where I could not help but notice that certain—
Could you be a bit more specific?
Well, I think that the best way to describe it, it's somehow distant, but at the same time driven. I believe that it's this energy that helped your father rally the noble houses and all these mages behind him. And ironic as it may be, it might help you with our cause too.
My father never told me how he grew up. Do you know anything
About his childhood? I'm afraid not. He shared some fragments of his—
Let's discuss something else. I'll be off.
Now look at that. The fabled Corporal. Good to finally meet you in person. I'm Flynn. I have to say, for someone who only led a puny Nortander division once, you're doing quite a good job leading an army so far. Anyway, have you come to arm our men? I strongly suggest—
But you're armed already.
Well, yes, with rusty swords and dented armors. I mean with proper equipment. If you give me—
I want to
music to my ears. What did you have in mind?
I must say I am impressed.
With Mullandir, yes, it's quite a sight. I still can't believe we're the first ones who found this place.
It seems unlikely, yes, but yet it happened. Isgrim, the dwarf, told me about it. He said that the rock illusion shielding the entrance vanished as soon as you spoke the words, and that it did not react to Isgrim himself. Tell me, Tahar, what do you make of that?
Maybe I'm...
But how? I know there is more to you than meets the eye, something about you is different, although I cannot say what it is. I believe we stand on the verge of a change. Things have happened, Tahar. Things, the extent of which we have not even come close to comprehending. And they have set something in motion.
How do you know this? Are you some kind of medium?
A medium? No, quite the opposite. I'm an observer. As you have undoubtedly noticed, I lack the, let us call it, emotional intensity most people display in their daily lives. That can be a challenge, and to me it is evident that the war your father started has done more than simply given birth to the purity of light. It was the first pebble in what will soon be...
You're talking about the Bloodburn.
Among other things, yes. But as I said, there is more to it. All this, your journey, your role in what Rondar Lacane believes to be a vision sent by Aenir. But let us continue this discussion when I can give you more than vague, semi-prophetic statements.
All right.
Why? When?
When something comes up.
Understood.
Yes.
Corporal? Need anything?
Tell me a bit about your time on the road. What was it like?
Is that a command, Corporal?
Please?
All right, but I'm afraid there isn't so much to tell. Have you ever been on the road by yourself?
A long time ago, yes.
Well, then you know how wearisome it can get. Sleeping under this most of the time, your stomach and your purse are empty, and your feet are full of blisters. And, of course, there's the constant danger. Especially if you're traveling on your own.
Did you ever have a companion?
Some, yeah, but most of it was just temporary. Though there was one I traveled with for longer.
How did you meet?
Coincidence. A small town between Finn and Mir and Lar. We played dice together and he cheated. When I called him out on it, he tried to turn tail. But one of the other guests stopped him for me. They wanted to go give him. He gave me back my money and we started talking. And, believe it or not, we found that we got along.
So you started traveling together? With a thief?
I wouldn't call him that. He was just young and careless. We ended up traveling for almost a year.
I see.
You mean... no, we were just friends. He was way too young for my liking, and I think I was too old for him. We were more like sister and brother.
What was his story? Where was he headed?
Into the blue, same as me. He had quite an interesting task, but I wouldn't feel comfortable sharing it with you, to be honest. He wouldn't want that.
Huh. So how did you split up?
Nothing dramatic. We came by a village and decided to rest there for a while. The roads had become quite dangerous due to the mage wars, and we didn't want to go out unprepared. He liked it, and the smith wanted him as an apprentice, so he stayed. I was surprised and a bit hurt at first, but then I realized it was probably for the better. I still think of him sometimes, though.
Huh. And how?
That was the easiest part. I healed.
With light magic?
Yes and no. It was my magic that mended the wounds, but since mages are often met with suspicion, frankly put, whenever I treated someone, I gave him a magical potion to drink, which was just water mixed with some harmless herb to give it color. The rest was laying on hands to help the potion's effect, which was pure light magic and how I did the actual healing.
And that worked?
Better than you'd think. People were fighting over my panacea as if I was Ellen incarnate, while cursing the evil defilers who had caused this war. Ironic, isn't it?
Do you miss it sometimes?
Well, we're still vagabonds somehow, aren't we? But I know what you mean. And yeah, I sometimes do. The wind on my skin, the vastness of the wildlands, and the fact that all you have to think... There was this one night I'll never forget. I had made a camp at a clearing, set up campfire, and I was leaning against a tree, slowly drifting toward sleep. Then, all of a sudden, it started to rain. My first impulse was to jump up, to find shelter, but I didn't. Instead, I saw. I don't know how else to put it. As if all my life I had been chasing something without knowing it myself. And in that moment, that feeling lasted until the sun came up. And then I fell asleep. When I woke up, it was gone.
That sounds beautiful.
And a bit dramatic. But yeah, it was beautiful. I've never...
And what do you make of it now?
Truth be told, I don't know. But it changed something. Even though I cannot say what it is.
This might sound...
Why are you asking?
No, I just wanna...
I guess so. Well, I hate to disappoint, but I don't think there's a particular reason. As you pointed out in the prison, I'm a fugitive as much as you are, and my best chance of survival...
How are you holding?
I think I'm good. And you? You're the pariah.
I'm getting by.
Aren't we all? So, can I help you with something?
To this day, the Shaper's magical and technological prowess remains unrivaled. One thing is clear.
Yeah, do you need something? I'm a tad busy.
There's something I've been wondering about.
Well, that was simple. I was in Everlight at the time. On request of the note, one night a courier contacted me and gave me a letter. The message outlined...
Mullandir.
Yeah, you know the rest of the story.
Found out anything new about the rune?
Well, so far all I can say is that what Lacane has given you is indeed a Shaper artifact. Now, I would write all this purity talk of the rune being a gift of Aenir off as religious nonsense if it weren't for the fact that the rune's energy actually interacts with the...
Which means that the Shapers in Aenir are
Somehow, yes. And I'll find out how.
I've been meaning to ask you, how does a dwarf and...
Let's not talk about...
Alright.
No sweat to her. It's fine.
How does one make a living as an archaeologist?
Good question. One I usually prefer not to think or talk about. For some obscure reason, only very few scholars take interest in the Shaper or the Hibernian culture, even though there is so much to be found. It's a shame.
Like what? What is there to be found?
What? You mean apart from monumental steel constructs, ghost warriors, and a city full of ancient secrets? A lot. But,
How do you explain that lack of
well, what do you think? Ignorance. No matter if it's orcs, elves, dwarves, or humans. Blast it, there's so much to be found, so much to be explored. Not just riches, but the technology, wisdom, and... But no, for some reason, the people with the coin just don't care. The only ones who even try to access this treasure are incompetent amateur treasure hunters, who usually get their heads chopped off by the first defense mechanism they walk into.
True. It's a pity.
Well, I suppose that answers your question. The life of an archaeologist is hard, and there have been times... Yet, here I am now.
What exactly is it that fascinates you?
Oh, Tahar, that's quite a topic. I don't mind sharing, but are you sure you want to go there?
I am. Tell me.
All right. Well, you see, the Shapers have always fascinated me. They're all over Io. These yet for some reason, so many people are almost oblivious to it. On the one hand, of course, that's very sad. On the other hand, it also makes it a lot more exciting. It's like I'm a treasure hunter. Tell me, Tahar, when seeing all of this, don't you sometimes feel like you're exploring a childhood dream?
The Shapers are dangerous. Just think of that Steel Guardian we fought to get in, or the Ghost Watchers. Not what I'd call a childhood dream.
Well, yeah, but this childish fascination was only the spark. The more I studied the Shapers, the more Did you know that at the pinnacle of their existence, they ruled over all of Io? A global empire with no one to oppose them.
You seem to consider that a good thing.
No, good, bad, the world doesn't work like that. Of course, there are writings that hint at the fact that the Shaper Empire wasn't all rainbows and unicorns, and it persisted for tens of thousands of years. Can you imagine? All this knowledge, all this art, all this wisdom. Nothing in the Io of today can match that. Nothing. It's like comparing a sea full of secrets with a puddle of muddy water.
How do you know all this?
Some of it from writings, some of it's just connecting the dots. I know how many scholars their problem is they're trying to understand the Shapers by reading books and dusty tablets. That's not how it works. You need to get out there, into the field. And even if it takes years of fruitless digging, eventually you're bound to stumble onto something. Another piece of the mosaic.
Very poetic.
Because it is.
My father always told me the Shaper Empire relied a lot on slaves.
What? No, that's rubbish. The Shapers had castes, yes, and it's probably the lower castes your father was referring to. But to call these slaves is like calling, say, a tanner who was born outside a royal family a slave, just because he'll never be a king. And even the very lowest caste, the Zalanyur, always had enough to eat, a roof over their heads, and could, without paying a single coin, get themselves healed by a cleric if they needed to. So if you think that's unjust, go ahead. Ask an Everlight beggar which era he'd rather live in. He's not a slave, yes, but in some ways he's worse off.
And how exactly did their empire come to be?
They had the liberty of being the first living civilization on our Io, at least as far as we know. That made it easier to maintain peace and stability. Until the end and the dragons.
And yet, they died out.
Yeah. Great mystery.
Most scholars think it was the dragons.
They do, but I doubt it. You saw what the Shapers were capable of. Even a race as powerful as the dragons couldn't have wiped them out. And you see the shape this city is in, Tahar. There's no trace, but regardless of what it was, it doesn't change the fact that the way the current races of this world treat the Shapers is nothing short of pathetic. They were greater than we'll ever be. And why? Just because it doesn't fit into our religion, our traditions, or whatever reason they can come up. Because to many, admitting what a marvel the Shapers truly were would mean admitting that our culture is pale in comparison.
Is our world really...
That depends on your expectations. We could do worse, certainly, but if this is as good as we can get, then I have nothing to feel but pity.
Maybe you're right. There's a lot we could...
Well, I'm sorry you feel that way. In any case, I suppose you found your answer, haven't you?
I see. Well, thanks for the explanation, Iskrim. I appreciate it. That our...
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, it's from...
Well, our smith...
What?
Why not?
It means something.
Fair enough. I'll let you know if I have... What are your...
What is my
I was trying to say, how do you...
Oh, that. I'm not certain
Don't you care who you were?
Truth be told, not that much. And in all honesty, aren't Lacane and his there was even that... Sounds funny when you think about it, but those lads were dead serious.
So you think
Of course they are. And like any other fanatic, he and his fellows will go down once people realize his god doesn't have all the answers.
So you don't believe in Aenir's return? In the...
No, I don't.
But there's truth to what the Purity claims. The guard...
Yeah, because maybe they... What I'm trying to say is, there could be all kinds of reasons why they've withdrawn.
Does the Harbinger know...
No, I guess not, but he doesn't need to know about that, does he? I certainly hope so.
Goodbye. Got it. Let's see. Understood. Will do.